Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you're all joining us. Hopefully you can hear. Just to let you know, we are recording this. We're just going to get a couple of minutes, wait for a few more people to join us. Thank you for following the instructions. Teams were up a bit of a spanner for us. We thought we were being clever by doing it as a webinar, and it seemed to have complicated things a bit more. So we should have just done it as a meeting. But thank you for managing to get in okay. So we'll just give it a couple of minutes for a few more people to join us. So we'll just leave it for a few minutes. Hopefully everybody's enjoying a bit of sunshine right now.
It's a bit of a change from the rain.
Yeah, it's been a bit damp lately. Thankfully the sun's out.
Yeah, just gotta hope the wind keeps off. That's the bit that always gets me.
Yeah. What have we come to, Jamie, talking about the weather?
Exactly.
So
Well,
give
classic.
we'll give it a minute or so. Just I know there's a few more joining us, and I know it was a bit of a faff to get in. So well done, everyone. Okay. Brilliant. So what I think we'll just start with a couple of introductions, who we are and why we're here. So yeah, my name is Mark. I'm a chief executive of the charity My Vision Oxfordshire, and I've got my colleague Jamie here, who's our technology officer. And we're a charity that support blind and visually impaired people, based in Oxfordshire. Just to give you a little bit of a background as to why we started this, or why we're launching this. So we deliver services for blind and visually impaired people, varying things across the county. One of our services, which is very popular, is about getting people online. So it's giving people digital skills, and giving them the tools and the confidence to get online, and that's done through a series of training workshops and our Tech Buddy program. But one of the barriers that we know a lot of people face is actually when they get those skills, when they're all skilled up on using their tech, actually one of the biggest barriers is web accessibility or lack of it when they get online. So it can really knock somebody's confidence. It can really create a huge barrier for them to be able to live that independent life, which we're aiming for. So this is why we're here at this point now. We're keen to, in a small way, sort of tackle web accessibility together with web developers and agencies. And this is a UK-wide service. So although we're a local charity, we can offer this as a UK-wide service to web development agencies and individuals and other businesses across the UK. So we're going to take a bit of a look as to what that is and why we're doing that. And the exciting thing for us is this is we talk about impact a lot as a charity, but actually for us this is a really impactful thing. Firstly, it would be income stream for us as a charity. Secondly, it will create better websites, so we'll have better accessible websites. And thirdly, we'll be paying disabled testers, so people with disabilities will get paid to provide these tests as we do them. So it's a kind of triple impact, which is going forward as a huge thing for us and the community. So the project is called MyWeb Access, kind of on our theme of our name. And some of the kind of key things we've got here in front of us that we're going to cover today is why 94.8% of compliance sites fail. So we'll do a bit of a demonstration on that in a moment. The testing methods that automated tools can't replicate, and how to integrate authentic accessibility that's backed by real users. So these are the three main things we'll be covering. Jamie, if you can, next slide. So this is a quote, so put the uncomfortable truth here. The power of the web is in its universality. That's a hard word to say, access by everyone, regardless of disability, is an essential aspect. And this is from Tim Berners-Lee, as we all know, from the founder or creator of the web as we know it today. Brilliant. So Jamie is now going to give a demonstration of some of the barriers that are faced by what we call automated testing. So you might be familiar with this. This is sort of automated scans and things, scans that can pull data from a website and tell you whether it's accessible. So Jamie, I'm going to hand over to you now, if that's okay.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about how some of the frustrations that can be faced by some of the people we work with, but not just that, but the wider community that have to rely on different pieces of assistive tech, different input methods to use and access just the things that we take for granted every day. So in doing a lot of training with different clients to use different things like screen readers, voice control, it becomes apparently obvious that actually someone can be as skilled and proficient at using a screen reader as possible. We could do months and months of training, and they could still face barriers on general day-to-day websites by small things that just haven't been set up correctly in the first place on the site. So what I've done, I'm going to share my screen with you. We have a demo site to show you that we've put together. The site is actually 100% compliant when scanned by most of the kind of general accessibility scanning tools. So kind of your lighthouses, your dev tools, down to kind of the Pali CLI tools. When we scan it, it comes up and it's 100% compliant. So I'm just going to show you that by running a quick lighthouse test on it. As you can see, this shows that actually, the semantic structure of this site is all there. In terms of form labelings, everything is technically there from a compliance perspective. But if we go and walk you through this site now, as if you were someone that was trying to use it with a piece of assistive technology. So one very common way that people tend to use their computer if they have limited mobility, or even if they're just a power user and like to use just the keyboard to control their computer. If I'm going through this site and I'm trying to navigate through it, and I'm trying to navigate through this form, let's say I want to fill out this form. So I go through and I type out my name.
Just say, Jamie, I don't think voiceover's coming through.
So this in a minute I'm going to show you how this form was based if you're a screen reader user. At the moment this is just using tab, so I'm just tabbing through this form as I'm going. So I just fill out some basic details, and then if I go through, as you'll see in a second, I'll go to the password. Now this password firstly isn't showing me that there is a requirement for the password, so I could just type in hello as my password. I would never recommend anyone to use that as a password, but I could do. I could go through, and as I'm tabbing through, I could go and I could fill out the rest of this form. And as you can see, firstly, this isn't ticking, so this toggle button, with just using my keyboard, I have no way to select this as a thing. The second thing, if I do end up actually figuring out I can do that, so I'm just going to click on it to demonstrate, and I go to submit, I show that I've got an incorrect password. Now, what happened there is, in making this site, we have made the password focusable on hover. So when the mouse is hovering over the password hint comes up. But this isn't done on focus. So a keyboard user would not be able to see that they have a requirement for their password, thereby not being able to actually access that without using a mouse. So that they would not be able to fill out that form if they were trying to just use it by interacting with a keyboard. Now, similarly, the same thing happens when we try to use a screen reader to navigate through this form. So if I show you now, I've got this form filled out. If I go back to the password field, and we turn on a screen reader.
VoiceOver on Chrome. My Access demo. High score not equals use password help. 5 characters.
So
Content select
let's just make the password a bit more.
password. Password. 12 characters entered.
There we go. So now if
Actions
I just
available.
go through and
Password
I try
help.
to submit
Password
this
must
submit
preferred
this form,
email,
because
phone,
the screen reader is
end of,
perfectly reading out
consent.
everything
I
I
agree
need.
to be you must agree to enable create account button.
If I go and create the account,
I agree consent. You must
I have
create
no
account
idea
button.
this
You must
form
agree create
has
account
been
button.
submitted.
And phone.
If
And
for the
I
visual
agree to be
users out there,
contacted
there is a
about. You must
pop-up
agree to
modal
enable create account.
in the middle, but this is not got a focusable element to it that the screen reader knows. So as far as the accessibility tree of this site, this pop-up modal does not exist. Now, this could have been sorted out with one simple line of JavaScript to say, actually set the focus to either the most semantically relevant place in the modal, so the heading or the button. But this wasn't done. So a screen reader user would not know that they could submit that form, would not know that they've successfully created an account, would not know that they've successfully paid their money in or haven't paid their money in. They would be completely
I
trapped.
agreed to be contacted about my inquiry on switch. No action available unchecked.
So if we take this,
mute it.
Yeah, let me just turn voiceover off so that doesn't get on everyone's nerves. So as you can see, you know, these forms can be perfectly accessible under every metric. You can run all the different kind of accessibility scans. You can do everything right by looking at semantic structure, trying to make sure everything's there. But actually, until you really use it and until you really have a go at testing the site with people that actually genuinely know how to use the technologies, you're not going to pick up on lots of things like this, just small things that make something completely unusable.
Brilliant, thank you, Jamie. So, do you want to flip back to the slides? Yeah, so that's a really good example of how you know, automated testing is pull up great scan, and then it's basically telling us it's 100% compliant, and actually it totally fails a screen reader user or a keyboard only user, leaving them either stuck or trapped or unable to move on. And you would see, if this is your business or a customer, you would see that actually they're just going to leave your website and not come back, because that would be extremely frustrating. And we see this day in, day out with users with disabilities who get to that point of frustration and don't bother coming back because they just see it as inaccessible. Do you want to move to the next slide, Jamie?
Yeah.
Perfect. So automated tools, this is the sort of reality. So things that are detected by tools, so actual accessibility failures is about 30%, and it misses about 70%. So these things like Lighthouse and Axes are the tools that are missing that you know a lot of people use. So what automated tools miss? So things like your interactions and your multi-step forms and dynamic content. Things like sort of real user, so patterns and keyboard traps, and focus orders. So things like menus. This is very common with different pop-up menus. So a pop-up menu will come up. You might get into the menu, but you can't get back out again. That's really common for sort of keyboard only users or screen reader users. Context and comprehension. So it might be technically correct, but it could be confusing. The layout could be really confusing. We then also have things like, you know, there might be alt text, and this is a really common one people talk about because they kind of understand it. You know, alt text or an alternative description of an image. It might have something in the alt text, but actually it might not actually be relevant to the information that's in the image. So that would, you know, at the moment that's not going to get picked up by automated scans. And things like cognitive load and overwhelming navigation and unclear language. So this doesn't get picked up by automated scans and checks. You know, things, you know, if we're dealing with users with a cognitive impairment or a learning difficulty or disability, you know, they might, you know, your site might be really comprehensive and really, you know, well structured, but actually, does it make sense? You know, can people understand it easily?
Yeah, I think it's that real difference between, you know, compliance and meeting kind of set criterias and actually something being physically usable for someone.
Absolutely.
I mean, personally, I know there's nothing worse than a screen that a site that has 100 different headings and It just sounds like I'm listening to VoiceOver read out
all in the wrong order.
a million different things I don't need in the wrong order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the last one I missed off there was things like assistive technology, the differences between the different types of assistive technology. So you have different types of screen readers. It might, whereas some might work well with the website, some others might not. So that's another factor. So have you got the skills to effectively test accessibility? So another solution which a lot of developers will do and use is obviously self-testing. So managing a test. So you use a scan, but you might also download a screen reader or a screen magnification and just check the site yourself. So to do a bit of a test. So you might do things like unplug your mouse and see if you can navigate the website with your keyboard. Can you see where you are? You might use things like Zoom. You might zoom in and out and see if the context is still there. See if things overlap. That type of thing. And you could learn some of the basics of, say, NVDA or VoiceOver on a Mac. So you could learn some of that, and you could change some of the contrast on your screen. So assistive tech takes months to learn to the basics, but actually proficiency takes years. So some people who are using assistive technology have developed those skills over time. And we believe only lived experience shows where compliance stops and obviously usability begins.
And I think one of the core things around this, as you mentioned earlier, Mark, that actually, not all assistive technologies behave in the same way. One screen reader might work different to another. Tab control might work different on one keyboard to another keyboard. And actually, I think the idea of having that kind of difference and ability for a developer to take time out of their working day to learn all these different things is just not realistic to a level that would be proficient. So I think that's sometimes where this as a method kind of does fall short.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks, Jamie. I forgot to mention at the beginning, actually, if you do have any questions, please stick them in the Q&A or the chat. Because this webinar mode, I think you have access to the Q&A. I think that's the best place. So yeah, feel free to just pop any questions in there now. We can pick them up as we go or at the end, or email them to us. That's we can start that conversation. So yeah, the missing link. What's the missing link here? So we've talked about obviously automated scans. We've talked about testing it yourself. And we believe the missing link here is actually disabled user testers. Or disabled user testing. And what do we mean by disabled user testing? So according to Tim Berners-Lee, it's a authentic accessibility validation using real people with disabilities. So we've got some disabilities marked down here, sort of capturing some of the common disabilities. So blind and low vision. So people might use a screen reader or screen magnification or changing contrast or zooming in and out on the browser. Things like motor impairment, so these are kind of keyboard only, or there might be switch control, so people who use different switches. So if you've ever looked into this, various different switch methods you can use to navigate on a keyboard, or even voice activation. So that's things like ensuring your tab order is correct and focus areas are visible. Things like hearing impairment and deafness. So again, things like closed captions on videos, transcripts available on videos and podcasts, that type of thing, and obviously clear, understandable content. Things like dyslexia, ADHD, autism. So again, intuitive design, as I was saying earlier, it might sort of seem like a good structure, but does it make sense to everyone? Is it easy to understand and easy to read? Yeah. So Jamie, we can move on to the next slide. Okay, so there's a better way. Real user testers. So nothing beats testing with people who use assistive technology daily. So they find the issues that code checks don't. So automated tools check sort of syntax, and people check usability. So the aim obviously there is to encourage a sort of feedback loop. So we get that feedback from real users. Comparing test approaches. So we put here the automated tests, as we said, get about 30% coverage, misses context. It's fast and cheap. So you can download, free or cheap automated scanning tools. You can run those pretty quickly, but like as we said, it barely scratches the surface. Things like in-house audits, as we're discussing, you could do your own kind of testing. Again, this could cover sort of 60-70% of things. It's very theory based. It's thorough, but it's very expensive, very time consuming. So, this is a developer's time having to learn how to use a screen reader, learn how to use, let's just say 5 or 6 different types of assistive technology to actually get a good coverage, and then actually sit down and test it. And what we tend to see is actually those who do that often cheat. So you don't get a real life example of actually what it is like to use your website. And actually, as we'll show in a minute, our test actually, captures that emotional impact and those barriers that people are facing and those frustrations that they might find on various websites. So what we're saying here is disabled user test is 100% real world. So this is real world usage, it's lived experience, and it's authentic and defensible. So, if somebody comes in and says it's not more, actually we've used a number of people to check this and verify what we believe to be correct and accessible. So thanks, Jamie. So how does MyWeb Access fit in? So, and what is it? So Jamie's going to do a run through of the process in a minute. But the model we work on is actually having around about 8 disabled users with varying disabilities. So we already have a kind of panel of people ready who test sites. So that's with varying disabilities, from obviously blindness and low vision to hearing impairment, cognitive impairment, and motor impairment. So it's having those people ready. What we have is a system which Jamie will show you, where people will actually fill out a series of questions and a series of scenarios where they'll be led through the website itself, creating sort of several different journeys, and getting a thorough report and in-depth understanding of how they've accessed that website. And then those checks are then actually correlated with automated scans and other scans, and then a full report comes out of that at the end. So in terms of how it works, step by step, you submit the website through our portal. We assign user testers. Users test against WCAG criteria. So this is the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, and they test against that for a series of kind of designed scenarios and questions. Obviously, they're then paid for that test, and then from that, obviously, a report is compiled, which is developer-ready guidance. So we have kind of copy and pastable code that can be used. We have guidance that can be, that will come in the report for each particular issue. And as Jamie will show in a minute with a report, we obviously rank that and give you a kind of roadmap as to how to fix those problems step by step. Jamie, do you want to go in the next?
Yep.
Okay, this is a chance for Jamie to showcase some of the work.
Yes, so I'm going to go and share my screen again with you guys. So as I mentioned, we have kind of a bit of a systematic process from kind of helping the disabled user testers that we employ, guiding them through a series of kind of common tasks, which can kind of be adapted, but potentially depending on the site. But they are general things like finding contact information. Can you access and understand what the main purpose of this site is? How much do you struggle with finding the help section? How much do you how much are you able to go in and out of an in-depth series of kind of links, and how are you able to tab through different headings? A kind of a guided series of scenarios that we walk our testers through. Now, the way we do that is the testers have access to our portal, which we can log into. Sorry, just give me 1 second.
A live login for you. There you go.
There we go. So they get taken to the screen that walks them through the general process, and are then asked to perform a series of different tasks on the page. So some of our testers might be asked to go off and fill out a form. So they will go away and they will fill out the form on your page, and then they will open back up the extension and give their feedback in terms of what and how they found using that piece of your website. Whether that's actually filling out and answering questions based on their experiences. They are asked to rate through 1 to 10 how well they find accessing contact forms, how well they'll find actually submitting something. If there's specific things that you'd like us to kind of look through in terms of a site, we kind of guide our testers towards maybe something along the lines of a PDF, if that's something that's a notable point of concern for you. But the way these tests work is we do tend to guide people through a series of workflows. So we're not just testing static pages, we're actually testing the journeys that those users go on. Now, once we've done that, we take that feedback, and myself and the team here look at it, and we go, actually, okay, so what is going wrong here? What's going to need to happen to this site to make it more accessible? What are some of the issues, and what are some of the most reasonable and realistic barriers that can be taken and put some work into to make easier for these users? Now, we then compile that into a report that agencies and developers are able to access through, as Mark mentioned, our portal, which I will open up now, which we have open on a dummy report. This is one. There is a site created that is intentionally inaccessible. It's called the Accessible University. You're more than welcome to have a look at it later. And it's just a really good site that walks through lots of different barriers that different assistive technologies can face when using a site. So we've got some testers to test this site out for us. We ran our different checks and scans on it, as well as kind of looking through kind of the differences as to how those sites are interacted and those breakpoints. Is the element toggled as is that element hidden when interacted with, and is that then shown on the accessibility tree, or is that just hidden from both the DOM and the screen reader? We then produce and compile this report for you that has a list of the different issues with kind of detailed remediation guidance. Each of these issues can be selected and booked as a ticket in whatever kind of project management system you use, or equally just an issue or on any version management resource that you use. We give detailed explanations into some of the barriers and some of the more kind of compliance areas around those barriers. So looking into kind of WCAG compliance, whether that actually kind of meets some best practice use of ARIA. So there's lots of things within assistive technology and intuitive web design that actually, it sounds great. There's this hidden great thing of ARIA roles and labels that you can add to things, but we don't just check whether they're used. Actually, we check whether they're appropriate. Is that the most appropriate way of doing something, or is there a semantic alternative? We then have a series of different bits of advice, links to learning resources that we've created that you can look to further knowledge as to why these barriers are faced. Equally, we then also have the user feedback that's connected to those issues, with a roadmap of recommended compliance towards the bottom that basically breaks down what is going to be a easy path for you to getting some of those quick wins in. You're also able to then view some of the reports that some of the feedback that was then given to that site. Now, we think from a perspective of both developers, agencies, and business owners, this gives kind of a whole holistic view of what the site is like, the barriers that are faced, the user journeys that their potential customers go on, that actually some of the most vulnerable people in society go through, and actually how to make something easier with just a few small quick wins. Now, we're not saying every site should be level AAA compliant. We just think that reasonable access to people that need it and that have the ability to be interactive customers, clients of whatever service is being on offer.
Brilliant, thank you, Jamie. And I think we're going to be able to share this report out afterwards as well with the video, so it means you can actually have a proper look through. I appreciate it's quite hard to see when someone's sharing a screen, but yeah, we'll make sure we share that afterwards. You okay to share the slides again, Jamie?
Yeah.
Thank you. There.
Yeah.
Okay, so what makes this different, or what makes us different, Jamie? There's a lovely typo there.
Oversight on my part.
There you go. We should have done a test on this before we shared it. So we're using real disabled users, obviously not simulations. So we know from a lot of experience with various different things, like actually there's no replication. Like we value the input from real people rather than just somebody's opinion or a simulation. So it's a really powerful thing. So we run things against WCAG, the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, and plus usability. So it's not just a compliant test. It is are people finding this usable as well? So it's a custom solution, not just text reports. So we provide a kind of dynamic report rather than just a Word document. Which Jamie, I think you said there's a lot of integration with GitHub and things. So I'm not sure if you mentioned that.
Yeah, so there's a way for you to create issues and tickets and whatever kind of system. We have a few of the core kind of integration set up, and hopefully some more coming soon. That you can then use and kind of help solve those issues in a more hopefully seamless manner.
Yeah, perfect. And lastly, it's all about partnership for us. So we're here, with you in that journey. So again, although we do, the report is sent, we are also there and available, afterwards as well. So and we can also create sort of custom journeys and custom scenarios as well with people going forward. Can you put the next one up? So this is basically our kind of business model. Very, very simple, very basic. We're starting off quite low, so we have two tiers, which for our I suppose customers or for our partners. So what we're aiming for is a kind of partner tier, which is £500 for the test and report, and that's using about eight user testers. And the reason this is kind of cheaper is this would be a baked-in approach. So our aim is to work with development agencies alongside you during your web builds. So ideally, you would pass this cost on to your customers, and you would have it as an additional selling point. And this is a baked-in price. So this would be for every test. This would be for every web build you do. We would be a kind of contracted service to come in and provide that on an ongoing basis. So every time you have a build, our service would be baked in and used on that approach. And again, that the great thing about this is we can partner. On marketing as well, so we can co-market it and be there as part of that journey when you sell it. So we can give you all the marketing materials about what the test is. So it's all built into your journey, the kind of customer's journey. And the great thing is it brings consistency. So we think baking it in actually has a much better approach. It means all your sites are coming out with far greater accessibility. We've got far more confidence that they're being tested. We're coming along as your kind of in-house accessibility team, and we sit in alongside you. So and it's all kind of seamless in that way. So we believe that actually for your web your web agencies, you will just get to become more known as kind of web accessible, building web accessible websites. And one thing we haven't really touched on is obviously a lot of the kind of the laws that are changing. There are quite a few laws around sort of higher education, local authority websites needing to be accessible. We've just had the EU Accessibility Act brought in, which does impact a lot of UK businesses who trade in the EU, and we think will obviously impact businesses who got more over here as well. So there's a huge need for it and a huge desire to it, and we're aiming to support kind of small to medium businesses who can't afford to have an in-house accessibility expert, but actually we come in alongside you and we can be those kind of in-house experts. The other part is the ad hoc tier. So if you're just thinking, you want it as an ad hoc for the customer to purchase in addition, so you might not feel comfortable about building it in or adding a price in, baking that price into your offer already. So we offer an ad hoc tier, which gives you a chance to sell that as an add-on, but we charge more for that because there's obviously less ongoing business, and there's more work in the background to achieve that kind of ad hoc site build. We also, although we're aiming to work mainly with development agencies, we will also be working with end users. So this will be the price for an end user who wants us to test their website. So any business could come to us we can provide a test, provide a report, and then they can hand that to their development agency, or we can pass it to their development agency. Or if they build it in-house, we can they can have that for themselves. So that's the kind of ad hoc tier. Ongoing, we will also be providing web content accessibility training. So it'd be like a half-day webinar training where we will provide in-depth kind of content training, because obviously a lot of sites, most sites are built and then passed on to the organization who add content, and actually then a lot of that content can then end up being inaccessible. So things like wrong headings used, alt text not used properly, contrast not used, that kind of thing. So that gives then those end users more control, more power, and more understanding of accessibility to be able to deliver a much more better quality website at the end of the day. So again, that would be an add-on, and we'll provide periodic training. And again, we can provide bespoke options, and beyond that point, for more complex builds, we will provide kind of more consultancy hours as well for complex situations going forward. But we're trying to keep it relatively simple. We believe that this price is pretty competitive and quite a good introductory start for this service. And actually, we want to work with businesses early on to kind of get that baked in.
Yeah, and I think
Brilliant.
it's really trying to kind of aim here is to make the accessibility checks and actually compliance and getting those kind of real world feedback loops available to everyone. I mean, obviously there are other services that offer disabled user testing, but I think in terms of kind of the cost and the commitment of those, we're trying to make that something that is available to everyone, no matter budget or kind of time frames.
Absolutely. So most disabled user testing services tend to be targeted towards much larger businesses with much larger websites. I mean, for instance, you would pay quite commonly the similar amount to a small business's website build. So it's highly unlikely people are going to get those tested at a similar value to what their website build was in the first place. So we want to sit in for those smaller websites, people who are doing e-commerce, people who are, have got customers coming in, people who are dealing with the public, who've got forms to fill in, things to access, business, etc., etc. It could be anything. They still need to be accessible. It's not just for the HSBCs and Barclays banks out there.
Yeah.
Jamie, do you want to do the next slide? I think next one. Okay, so I'm just going to introduce. We're going to do a little bit of a case study. I'm going to introduce Tim, if I can unmute him, and we're going to have a little kind of Q&A. Bear with me whilst I try to navigate the menus on here.
Okay.
I'm just going to make a presenter. I think that's the quickest route.
Mm-hmm. And I think what we were saying about kind of trying to make that accessibility available to all, I do think sometimes the depth and the cost and the complex nature behind training someone in-house, going to a bigger kind of organization such as kind of the RNIB to get accessibility testing, those things cost a lot. They take a lot of time, and actually a case study as to why that might be kind of off-putting. There was a local authority in the south of the country that had some issues and complaints from different users to say that actually their site wasn't accessible to them. they reached out to one of these bigger organizations and got quoted something like upwards of the regions of £10,000 to do an audit for them. And actually, because their site was technically passing a lot of tests, they didn't bother, and that site remains unusable for their constituents.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jamie. Tim, hello. We've got
Hi.
you here. Hey, how are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?
Good. Yeah, good. Thank you. So, Tim is from a business called Oxygen, relatively new business. Oxygen have been kind of one of our early partners and helped us a lot kind of get to this point as well. So, Tim, can you tell us a little bit about what Oxygen is, what you are as a business, what you do?
Yeah, sure. And thank you for having me on this. We're a design agency, a creative communications agency, and we work with charities, with B Corps, and other mission-driven organizations on communicating their impact, on refreshing their brand and visual identity, but also redesigning and rebuilding their websites.
Brilliant, thank you. And what in terms of accessibility, kind of what kind of brought you to kind of work with us? What's the kind of desire behind it?
So we're like you said, we're a relatively new agency. We're kind of 5 or so years old, but we've kind of been operating independently for the last 12 months, as previously being part of a larger organization. And since we first started, we've tried to frame all of the work we do within kind of 3 parameters, being inclusive, sustainable, and accessible. And trying to frame all of the work we do and deliver projects for our clients that meet those criteria. And so when we spoke with MyVision about this kind of a year or so ago, it felt exactly fit the things that we're wanting to do. And obviously we're working with clients that are majority purpose led or have positive missions, and so it ties in with the type of organizations that we're working with, but also the kind of projects that we want to deliver for those clients. So it felt like a really great fit.
Amazing. And so I think we've done a few tests with you. What kind of things, you were kind of one of our guinea pigs as well, so you helped us kind of redesign it. But actually, in terms of the content that came out of it, how sort of usable was it for you? How did it help the web build itself?
I mean, it was really useful. So we worked on a project for Community First Oxfordshire, who are a placemaking charity in the county. And it was useful for us as an education tool, but also I think it was incredibly useful for the charity to kind of be able to go and talk about, okay, with their previous site that we'd started with had a number of significant accessibility concerns that both came up through the automated test, but also came up through our user testing, and we helped eliminate, the majority of those through majority of the issues from the automated tests. But then running the accessibility test with you identified a number of other things that we could help to eliminate and improve. So I think it was really useful for us as a learning exercise, to kind of widen our knowledge base, but also to help deliver a better project and website for the organization. So it was great.
Brilliant, thank you, Tim. And where can people go to find out a bit more about Oxygen and what you do?
So you can find us on LinkedIn, or you can find us at our website, designbyoxygen.com. You can find us anywhere really.
Yeah, just search.
Amazing. The QR code. I've mentioned the
QR
code does take you to the Oxygen website to learn more about their services.
Right, brilliant. Thank you so much, Tim. That's been really helpful. Thank you. Brilliant. Thanks. And so, Jamie, next slide. So, any questions? I don't think we've had anything in the chat or the Q&A. I think if people do have kind of questions they want to send over, so you've got my email address, and we'll send out Jamie's as well. So you probably realise Jamie's the more technical one here, so he can provide some of those answers. But if you do have anything, obviously please send them over, and we'll try and answer them. And we're kind of really interested to get your kind of feedback on what you think about the service. This is a kind of start for us about getting this launched and getting it out there. So we really want to hear, get that feedback to shape it, as well as deliver something that's usable and helpful for people going forward. So yeah, next steps. So really, we'd love to partner with different organisations. Please do, as I say, get in touch. We'll be sending out this video. We'll be sending out that report as well, and we'll send out more information about the service going forward. Again, we'd love to partner. So we really believe this is a great kind of impactful service. As we say, not only do you get an accessible website out of it, but you're also supporting a local cause who supports visually impaired people, and you also support disabled people in terms of their income to, as a providing the tests. So it's a very impactful service. I just want to say thank you lastly for coming along. Really appreciate your time. Been really good. So hopefully we will see you again. Say any questions, email them over, and we'll look forward to connecting. And have a good rest of your Friday.
Thanks, guys.